Hello, I'll be making a Pyke guide today, which is basically my Mobafire guide, but I know most people don't use Mobafire, so I'll just make one here. So Pyke is a champion that can roam the entire map and impact it very well in the early game. He can kinda secure all the vision in the jungle, but it is hard to find 2v2 kills consistently unless the elo is pretty low and they're making lots of mistakes. So when do you want to be picking Pyke? If they have low mobility, if they're weak in the early game, if they have low CC, then it's very good to pick Pyke because they don't have much to counter your kit or to really deny your early game. But you don't want to be picking Pyke if they have lots of mobility, because then they can dodge your skill shots, and your champion is 3 skill shots and a speed boost, so it's not good to be missing those. And if they have abilities like Fizz's E or Kindred's R or Vladimir's W, or like they're spamming Zhonya's like cringe champions, then it's going to be hard to really play the late game because you're not going to be hitting R's at all. These are the runes I almost always take. You're going to always be taking this primary tree with a domination. You can get away with not taking Relentless Hunter and go Ultimate Hunter instead if you're not going to be roaming much, but because you're going to be roaming a lot usually, you're not going to be getting level 6 as fast as some other supports, so it's not really that good. For the secondary tree, you can see it is heavily dependent on the matchup, and you can kind of see the pattern here. If they have weak early games or they're really squishy with low CC, you can take Triumph Tenacity, which scales extremely well and is very good for when you're roaming. If they have some poke, you want to take Second Wind and Unflinching, just so you have Tenacity but also so you can sustain in the lane and look for a hook. And you pretty much always take Bone Plating Unflinching into these hard engage or tank supports, because while they're going to have Aftershock, if you don't have Bone Plating, you will be bursted down heavily. And for the 3 unique matchups, Zyra, Rakan and Shaco, these matchups are impossible to ever get a kill, because Zyra's going to block your hook with the plant, Rakan's going to use one of his 50 dashes to get away, and Shaco's just, he has his Q and his R. So I would recommend just trying to roam as much as possible against these guys, because you're not going to kill them. Since Pyke likes to play around the bushes a lot in lane, I usually take a trinket and put it in this middle bush before recalling and getting the sweeper, so that I can stand in that bush, and if they try to ward it, I can sweep the ward and kill it, getting a zombie ward proc. On your first recall, the most important items to get are the boots and the control ward. This is so you can roam mid really fast and put a control ward in the river to help your jungler secure vision, and it will really accelerate your early game. Use whatever remaining gold you have on longswords or a refillable potion, as they just make life easier. You're going to be wanting to rush tier 2 boots because they let you roam a lot better and also give you lots of combat power. Also make sure you upgrade longswords into a serrated dart so you can have some lethality, so you can actually do some damage and your stun will stun for longer. Always keep at least one controlled as well, so you can actually put it down and secure vision. For your first item, you have 4 choices. That's going to be Umbral Glaive, Axiom Arc, Duskblade, or Prowler's Claw. Usually I'd rush Umbral Glaive, but if you're smurfing or you're doing really well, you can go Axiom Arc so you can really just snowball the game. Or you can go Prowler's Claw to abuse the early E Prowler's mechanic, since most people won't be able to dodge it this early into the game. Otherwise, Umbral Glaive is going to be a safest bet because you can really stack up that zombie ward and get so much vision. So after your first 2 items, your build becomes a lot more flexible. Personally, I really like building Death Dance or more as my 3rd item, as they are so broken right now on Pyke. Or you could go GA or Age of Night if you have a big bounty and you want to avoid dying. Now for mechanics, Pyke really isn't a mechanically difficult champion. I've made other videos on my channel covering the basic combos, so I'll just show you how you could really use them, I guess. But it's just important to know the fundamentals, which are that your E follows you, and your Q slows them by a bunch. So just experiment with the combos. There's not really like one set optimal combo. It's also important to know that it's faster to Q flash instead of flash Q, You could use it in some really fast one-shot combos like EQ flash, and then you use the slow to land a stun, or you can combine Prowler's Claw. A tip for Prowler's Claw is that it's faster to, or you can buffer it during your R or flash so that it's extremely fast. What you don't want to do is flash Prowlers, because then it's a little bit easier to react to like that. Some additional tips to land your skill shots are to use your W after your E so you get the movement speed and they can't walk out of it. And to save your E for when the enemy dashes, and you might need to follow it with your own flash if they're playing something like Ezreal or Tristana. I'm sure you've heard of this one, but place your ultimate in a position where even if they flash they can't get out of it, because your ultimate does have enough area to cover both them and their possible flash position. Now in the lane, it's important to know that you are not Thresh or Blitzcrank. You can't be going for hooks behind the minions like this, because if anyone gets hit by that, they're really dumb. They can just walk behind their minions, they can dodge it really easily. So what you want to do is you want to take control of the bush and look for hooks from there. And depending on the matchup, that's either a kill or you can get a really good trade-off. Also, don't be scared to E forwards for a hook if the support is not in a position to help their ADC or punish you. After recalling, you should always be pathing through the jungle to the river. This is so you can clear or establish vision, and also it gives you a possible roam angle. It's also important to know what your job in the lane is. So for example, you're playing something like Pyke Twitch into Leona Draven. Obviously you're not going to be getting any kills this lane, so you just want to be playing to peel the Leona off your Twitch and just scale. There's no easy way to learn these, it just really comes with experience. So put in the games and you should learn what to do. Now that the mid game is here, Pyke is now a champion, and you want to be playing around whoever is strong on your team to get objectives. So if you have a strong top laner who wants to split push, then you can help them set up vision so they don't die 3v1, or you can roam around with your strong jungler to get invades off or take things like Rift Herald or Dragon. It is important that you always just roam around and never sit in lane farming. You can get so much vision with Umbral Glaive in your control wards, and you are extremely strong in skirmishes. If you haven't won by late game, then you're kind of in some trouble, but your champion is still the best champion in the game at getting vision, so make sure you keep the jungle warded. It's also really good to have a ward in the middle of mid lane so then you can see which side they're rotating to. So for example, instead of having a ward on both their wolf camp and their raptor camp, you can put a ward in the middle of the lane and you can see basically the same amount of information as those two wards in a single ward. I mean, in late game teamfights, you cannot be the one to engage like a Blitzcrank. You have to be standing back and making sure that you stay healthy so you can go in for resets. Also, before every fight, press tab to make sure you know who has stopwatch and who doesn't, and you always want to wait that out because that item is really good at completely destroying Pyke. These are the matchup difficulties. I go in more depth into each one on my Mobafire guide if you want to check that out. But otherwise, the general rule is if they have lots of mobility, it's kinda hard. And if they have something to block your hook, it's kinda hard. I put Rakan in the even matchup because while you can't really do anything to him in his ADC, he can't do anything to you either. I put Morgana in the even matchup because a lot of people actually struggle with this matchup, but it's not that hard. Morgana is incredibly useless. As soon as she throws her Q in lane, all you need to do is just E forward onto her ADC, short Q, and kill them with straight damage. You don't need CC to kill Morgana or her ADC. She is so useless without her Q.